So we are now live into the Enagic Kangen Water Owners Group. And this training is not just specific to Enagic, it's actually all the training and information Russ is about to share with us is valuable for life. These are also life skills that we're going to be getting information on that we can leverage. But before we get into the gold, what we're actually going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to this man who's in front of you right now, because I met Russ back in 2020 on a mastermind I was facilitating. I think we were talking around different topics, Think and Grow Rich or Outwitting the Devil, Russ, whatever it was. And I was actually captivated by Russ, his energy, his presence, his ability to listen, and the communication aspect, which Russ is going to dive more into here around that, not just communicating, talking verbally, but also listening. And I thoroughly enjoyed his time on the calls that we ended up connecting privately, one-on-one. And we've built this fantastic relationship where it's very much like a father-son relationship. Russ is one of those people, Russ would define it as hot team member. Well, Russ is one of those people who shows up for myself, but also many other people as an inspirational figure, somebody who automatically believes in you, somebody who's showing there in the corner, cheering you on, supporting you, which is an extremely powerful person and position to be in, especially within network marketing. So that's a little bit of the value that I've received, because I'm not going to take up the whole hour on it. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to share a little bit of a bio to create a bit more structure and amplify the value of Russ. So before I get into this, Russ, please sit back and enjoy it. Don't get all flustered with this. But Russ is a successful entrepreneur, coach, trainer, consultant, and accomplished sales leader. In 1982, he started his own sales training and marketing company. And in January 91, Russ established the Success by Design Institute Incorporated, a premier sales training and marketing consulting firm and one of the pioneers in the development of network online marketing training. Success by Design's mission is to create a new value-based model for how selling, recruiting, and training can be done, which Russ refers to as untraining. Specifically, Russ addresses the common dilemmas of where do I go, what do I do, and how do I do it? So in this training, we're going to expand on the important areas of listening, prospecting, a sponsor's responsibility, your own project goals, and far more value. So let's get started with Russ, but I also want to let you know that in the comments section, drop in questions as they're coming up. We're going to do our best to answer them in the time that we've got. So Russ, I've been through your untraining program on the 8-week live mentorship. I've done the 2-day intensive, and there's also access to the on-demand, so I can do it in my own time. And not only have I done the untraining with you, I've also spent quite a lot of time in your presence and having conversations with you. I'm familiar with your project, but I think it's a great place to start. What is your own project? What are you working on? What are you building and leaving better this world when you choose to move on?
Well, thanks, Martin, for all your kind words and all of that. It's interesting because this is the second time today I've been asked that question, interestingly enough. The other way it was asked to me is, what is my dream? And my task right now is living my life's purpose. And my life's purpose is contribution. And some time ago, after a regular series of health challenges, I created a life goal, what I refer to, and this is commonly used today, as my legacy, something that I want to build and create that's not only much bigger than I am, but outlasts me in the world. And what it looks like is a global foundation to do good in the world after I die. It's called the Success by Design Global Foundation. And it begins funding in the next 3 years. Now, this foundation will be an $84 million foundation. I'll tell you how I arrive at that figure. But basically, that money as principal will generate interest properly invested. And the interest in that money will go to causes that are very dear to me and that I think are important things in the world that there's never enough money for. For instance, one of the things is women, children, and animal abuse. That would include the very common and recent emphasis on child trafficking. I really think that there's a lot of agony and a lot of ugliness around those three areas, and there's never enough money to address those issues. Another one is first responders and veterans causes. These are also everywhere, but here in the United States, there's never enough money to take care of the people that take care of us and spend their lives taking care of us. Another one is disaster relief. Disaster relief is, there's no telling when and where disasters strike. And many of the organizations that deal with earthquakes or hurricanes or typhoons or any of those types of things, they're so top heavy with administration that a lot of times so much of the money doesn't get to where it really needs to go. And then last is childhood disease. I think that there's lots of great organizations like St. Jude's Hospital, for instance, that really take care of families and who never have to pay anything when their child gets terminally ill or very, very sick. And I love children. Children are very important to me. And I want to leave behind something that makes a difference in the world and continues to grow. Now, how this foundation is funded might strike you as unique. I hope it does. But it will be funded by relationships that I have and have gained through Success by Designs on training. My commitment is to have an honor agreement with the people that I do business with. I don't want money from them. I want to make them millionaires. I've been blessed in this business. I think I've got a real handle on how to make whatever your business is, whether it's to be a millionaire or not, a lot more productive than just going to motivational seminars or taking the tips and techniques of the week. So what I hope to do is form 1,000 powerful relationships and show them how to generate and make $1 million a year. Now, I don't want any of that million. When we make $1 million a year together, you keep that million, but you have a promise. And your promise is that on your second million, you'll take 1/12 of it, which is $84,000, and donate it to this nonprofit entity called the Success by Design Global Foundation. 1,000 people doing that is an $84 million foundation. And the way I look at it is properly invested, that's 10 to 15 million a year that can go to these benefits and charities that I mentioned. And I will go to my grave feeling that my life has been lived worthwhile and made a difference. Quite simply, I don't know how else to put it. That's my dream.
Wow. Beautiful and extremely empowering right from the word go. And there's, thank you for sharing that first of all, Russ, but also there's this element of, at this stage in your life, that clarity in the certainty that you spoke with then around what you want to do here, not only from a place of really activating the universal law of receiving, of giving first, contributing to helping people succeed, then they contribute back as well financially, which helps other people around the world. Did you have this kind of clarity? And like I said, you define it as your project. Did you have this kind of clarity and certainty earlier on in your career in network marketing as to what you wanted to build to this point?
It really came about in 2017. Now, I've been in network marketing and around network marketing in that profession since 1980, which is longer than I care to admit. But I have been blessed. Have had success, and I think I've touched a lot of lives. There's people who I find out every day that come back to me and say, "This was because of you." But it was only when I had a stroke in 2017 out of the clear blue sky I mean, I say that it was like wasn't exactly in my plans, to do that year. And in February, I suddenly had a stroke, and I was very fortunate. I went to Mayo Clinic and they busted the clot, and I was in intensive for 3 days, but I had a full recovery. And that started me thinking that had I been paralyzed or died or some kind of infirmity that kept me from speaking or remembering, that 30 years of my life's work, I started Success by Design in 1990, 30 years of my life's work would have been lost. So I started the wheels turning, like, what was I going to use the rest of my life for? Was I just going to play around in network marketing and make money? Was I going to do seminars and teach? And I was just, it's a way of saying it was placed on my heart that this is what I wanted to do, that I was directed. Say people call it downloads. You can think directed by God, whatever it is. What I got was that I was to use what I had and what I knew to contribute something, to build something that would last me. Shortly after making that decision, I got cancer. And I was lucky again, I dodged a bullet, it was operable, removed, and I've had no reoccurrences. Shortly after that, I got congestive heart failure, but it wasn't the normal pulmonary hypertension. It was a genetic defect called a left ventricle dysfunction. But what I'm here to tell you is all of those things have been handled holistically, and I'm proud of that. I'm not bragging about it. I'm not proud that, I'm not like cocky, but I don't take pharmaceuticals, and I think I've been blessed. I think I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. And so it's a more recent thing. And my first goal was to have the foundation begin funding by August. It's not ready yet. So I've reset the goal, and we're going to build it and create it. And it's timely because on Friday just happens to be my 70th birthday. I always dreamed of doing something by the time I was 40, but now I need 40-year-olds like you to help me do it by the time I'm 75. Goes faster than you think.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing in that there. And what I was hearing there was quantum moments that really picked off the why you're here, like you're saying around your purpose. You started with purpose right at the beginning of this call. And I wanted to start with this on this call because what you've just expressed is clarity of direction, where you're going, what you're doing it for, which then I will ask you this question. Do you wake up each day inspired to work toward that?
Yes. Yes, I do. Every morning, I throw my legs over the side of my bed before I stand up. My father said, never stand up, never jump out of bed. He said, that's one of the hardest things you can do on your heart is stand up in the morning, believe it or not. So I don't know whether you take that with a grain of salt. But the first thing I do is I sit up, I throw my legs over the side of my bed, and I think about how blessed I am. I say, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and I'm blessed. I start my day with that mantra, and then I am at it. I'm at it. It's all about talking to people. I have a list of things to do. I'm creating. I've got my hand in a number of different things, but I love what I do. Somebody once said that, if you do what you love for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's the way I feel. My wife would probably say I'm a workaholic, but I really don't work. At least I don't see it that way. So I do my life's work, and I love it, and I go at it, and I don't always hit my goals, and I have them written down, and I have something to do every day and every month. And it all moves me towards objectives that I lay out a year at a time.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that foundation there, Russ, because I know there'll be a lot of people, and please feel free to comment what value you're already getting from Russ in the chat here. But there'll be a lot of people that are like, wow, that's all amazing and no doubt inspiring, and I'd love to be able to get there. So let's reverse engineer that process. Let's start right at the beginning, because one of the things that you start with, especially in on training, is the unconcealing. Would you like to elaborate more on the power of the unconcealing for everyone watching the call?
Yes. Here's one of the things that makes, I think, what I do a little different from the normal fare that's available to people building a business in direct sales or network marketing or actually anything else. Training generally is about knowledge. And I often talk about the 3 domains of knowledge. This is an ontological concept, but there's actually 3 domains of knowledge. This is someone's philosophy that we live our life out of. One is the domain of what we know. And what we know is the sum of all our life's experiences and everything we've learned. Okay, that's one domain that we live in. Then there's a whole nother domain to grow in. And that's the domain of what we don't know. Now, a lot of times, interestingly enough, we know what we don't know. For instance, like I know that quantum physics exists, but I don't know anything about quantum physics except that there's things called black holes and all that. The math scares the hell out of me. But if I want to learn quantum physics, I could study it and take it from the domain of what I don't know into the domain of what I know. But my training deals with a 3rd domain. And this is an abstract domain that people don't think about, even though it's become popular at cocktail parties because it makes you sound very intelligent to talk about what you don't know you don't know. I hear people say that, but I don't think they really think or know what it means. If you don't know something, but you don't know it, it doesn't exist, at least not for you, okay? Doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the world or the universe or to other people. So that domain is accessible, though, through something called distinctions, where you distinguish something out. For instance, if you see a word, I don't know how this happened, but I accidentally subscribed to something that emails me a new word every day. That I've never heard the word, I've never seen the word, just pops up in my email, and here's this word, and this is what it means. Now, the interesting thing, I'm sure you've discovered words, seen a word, and maybe in the context of how it was written, you weren't really sure what it meant, so you had to look it up. We've all had that experience. Have you ever noticed that when you look it up and you see what it means, all of a sudden it starts appearing everywhere, where you never remembered ever seeing it before? The reason for that is you had no distinction for that word, and the moment that you do, now it'll never be in the domain of unseen again. So my work isn't so much about teaching you new things. It's about unconcealing things that you might already know or might already be there that you don't see. And once you see them, you'll never forget them. You can't unsee things like that. You can't forget. Like once you know what the color red is and you have a distinction for a certain shade of red, you don't unsee it. You don't think about it again. Once you drive a car, once you own a car, the car that shows up for you is the car that looks like your car or is your car. You don't pay attention to all the other cars out there because you have a unique distinction for your automobile. So the unconcealing is part of the untraining. And I've taken that concept and applied it to the dilemmas, the areas where people struggle in business, like prospecting and selling and recruiting and all those things. And I found when I first started this research in 1991 that so many of the dilemmas where people struggle in business are because of false beliefs, paradigms, belief structures that everybody accepts as true that aren't. So we have a paradigm. Example, the warm and the cold market, and I can get to that later if you want, Martin, but the warm and the cold market is a really good example of a paradigm that keeps people stuck, because every conversation about prospecting, whether it's, well, how do I use social media, or how do I talk to my friends, or I don't want to talk to my friends and neighbors, or whatever that conversation sounds like, it's about the idea that there's this thing called the warm market, which is people you know, and the cold market, which is people you don't, and that all prospects are divided into one of those two areas. Well, so is the world. The whole world is people you know or don't know, right? But maybe, just maybe, unlike what you're taught in prospecting, whether you know somebody or don't know them isn't what makes them a prospect. So the problem isn't there. I'm not denying there's a warm and a cold market, or that there's people you know or don't know. But the notion that whether you know them or don't know them, making them prospect is where the rub is. That's where the problem is. So I created a new possibility around that says what makes someone a prospect isn't whether you know them or not. It's a conversation. It's a conversation. And there's another paradigm already. Okay, well, what do I say to have a conversation? Well, maybe a conversation isn't in what you say. Maybe a conversation begins with what you hear. And so now we talk about listening, and listening is the foundation of all success by design's on training. You might say, well, Russ, I don't even know how to listen. Yes, you do. Everybody knows how to listen. Even the hearing impaired know how to listen. They don't listen the same way we do, but they still listen. But I don't teach people to listen. I teach people how they listen, because that's the piece that's missing. How we listen and how other people listen to us. And once we understand that, we have something that is critical in relationships: connection. You see, there's this notion that's been sold for decades, I think, that a contact is a connection. I don't believe that that's so. On Facebook, you have friends. So those are contacts. I mean, on my Facebook friend list, there's people that I went to nursery school with 66 years ago. Okay, I've never spoken to them, but I found them on Facebook and said, hey, I remember that was the kid that ate paste. Okay, but I've never spoken to them. I don't have a relationship with them. I'm not going to call them and prospect them. Okay, so I have it that there's this pathway that first there's contact. A contact is no more than a name or a face. And then what's possible is moving something from a contact to a connection. Once you have a connection, what's possible is a relationship. No, not always. Not all connections become relationships. But where the hell do relationships come from if they don't come from connection? So once you go from contact to connection, then there's relationship. Now, is a relationship a prospect? Well, maybe, maybe not. But can you think of anything more valuable in your entire life than relationships? There isn't. In my opinion, that's the gold in life. The true wealth in life is relationships to people. They're everything. So what my business is understanding distinctions like I just mentioned, like contact, connection, relationship, possible prospect. It depends. That's one example, Martin.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that's something that through the training really stood out for me. And I think definitely in this world where, and you've seen the transition, you've seen the growth from what the industry was certainly marketed as in warm and cold, but definitely face to face was the majority of it. Then it was like maybe VHS, maybe DVDs and so on. But now social media has made it like the degree of separation is possibly 2 to 3 degrees, if that, in today's world. And, you know, right now I'm speaking to you, you're on the other side of the world and we're on a call and we've got an incredible relationship just through connecting.
And we've never met. We've never physically met, but I feel like I feel like we have. Like somewhere in my mind, in my being, I don't think about, I've never met Martin. All I think about is who you are and who you are to me and what we've created virtually through a virtual medium.
Which and thank you for expressing that, Russ, because what it's actually doing then is amplifying the value we each have from a point of our core values of, as you mentioned, their relationships, relationships are extremely important to me and I value them. And therefore, because they're a value of mine, connection is there. And when I was going through your training, it really highlighted that, hey, these people I am not connected to. And I think it was Robin Dunbar, a British anthropologist, that said a human being can maintain up to 150 relationships. After that, they struggle to know the name and what the story of the person and what their core values are, or anything, the hobbies, which then brings everything in. And what I think it gives the opportunity for and the creation for is real, genuine relationships. Not going after a 5,000 friends count on Facebook or whatever, thousands of followers. It's actually about the quality of the relationships and finding those people that, based on our core values and our beliefs, that we align with. And I know collaboration's a big thing for you, as it is for me. How can we collaborate to create a greater impact in the world and leave the world a better place than when we arrived? Which is all very important for the entrepreneur in network marketing, as what are you doing this for? Right. Those questions which go to your project and then you go around through, which you've touched on a few things as you were in flow, but in particular, listening is critical. And you did amplify about the importance of it, but there's two types of listening that you talk about: generated and automatic.
Yes.
Can you define them so that when people are on social media, or they're even having interactions with people in everyday life, that they're aware of how they're showing up?
Yeah. So how often do you think about your skin? I mean, do you consciously like go through a day and think, there's my skin? Oh my gosh, we don't. Well, there's a type of listening we're born with. And this, of course, is all theory. There's a kind of listening that we're born with that I will call unconscious listening, automatic listening, reactive listening, always listening. It's always there with us. And we don't hear it, we don't pay attention to it, but it guides our thoughts. For instance, you see somebody that you want to talk to about an opportunity, and you go up and you engage them in conversation. And while you're asking or making small talk, which of course that word now irritates me, but you're making small talk with someone and they're speaking to you and you're thinking to yourself, okay, what do I say that they won't get the wrong idea about what I say? How do I get them interested in this without offending them? What if I say this and they say that back? Well, then what am I going to say? Well, I know they're able to answer their question. All that's going on in your head, and you're not there, because no matter what they're saying, you're not hearing it. What you're hearing is your own listening, your automatic listening. And automatic listening sounds like listening for approval, listening for the answer, listening for everything except what's there. So, and I want to be clear, automatic or reactive listening isn't bad. It's human. It's part of the way your mind works. But the moment you can begin to hear it, like the moment you're aware that you're listening that way, like I have a sister-in-law, and when she starts talking to me, I start thinking about rearranging the sock drawer. I mean, it's really like that. And she has looking like she's listening down to an art form. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. And you know that when she's doing that, she's not there. She's waiting for her turn to talk. Okay. And she knows if she agrees, maybe you'll hurry up and finish what you're saying so she can get it out. That's automatic listening. That's not unique to my sister-in-law. It's with me. It's with all people. Now, there isn't anything wrong with it. It's just that it keeps us from hearing what's there. So there's another type of listening, but this is active listening. This is generated listening. This is listening to someone like you're a blank piece of paper that they're writing on. Okay. And what you're paying attention to is what they're saying and when you get good at it, what they're not saying. You can begin to hear what someone isn't saying just by what they're saying. You say, well, what do you listen for, Russ? Well, here's what I listen for. I listen for values. I listen for character traits. I listen for qualities that I can connect and relate, qualities that I admire, qualities that I can acknowledge because I've noticed who they are. And there's two more really, really important things when you're practicing listening. That's a great place to start. Now, this gets back to my opinion, as all this training does. But I believe that human beings can be defined by two words: concerns and commitments. And that is in how people speak. But we don't hear it. We don't hear it because we're not listening. You know what we hear a lot? Complaints. When we hear someone complaint, culturally, what are we taught to do about complaints? Aren't we taught that's negative? Get away from them. They bring me down. They're always whining. I can't stand it. They complain about everything. Get away from me. Well, what if complaints were actually a gift? What if all actions that human beings take were motivated by either concerns or commitments? And a complaint is what people do when they put something on top of a concern. Like they might say, you know what, I need to get to a gym. Just out of the clear blue, I need to get to a gym. We go, really? Well, okay. We don't think anything about that. But what is that, a complaint? Well, it kind of is. It's like, well, why do you need to get to a gym? Well, my clothes don't fit. I need to lose a couple pounds. Why? Well, because I don't feel attractive. Well, why? Well, because my girlfriend won't sleep with me. Well, okay. Well, what else? Well, you know what? I just don't feel good about myself, and that's what I want to do. Okay, so what are you doing? What are you doing about that? So if you hear the concern first and give people a choice, instead of jumping on the complaint with a solution or ignoring it, which a lot of us learn to do, you're missing an opportunity for connection. You want to hear what people are committed to? Talk about their children. Talk about their family. Talk about their work. Talk about what they're doing. What people are dying to be heard. And being heard by a salesperson can be manipulative, because what a salesperson is looking for is needs that apply to the particular product they're selling, that they can give a feature, advantages, and benefit to, and then leap on the buying signal. So we're kind of conditioned to listen that way, to listen for something that serves us instead of listening to something that serves them, being interested in them. Carnegie said it 100 years ago. One of the most brilliant things he ever said was, interested people are interesting. What would it be like if you were talking to someone and all they wanted to do is talk to you and find out about you, not without an agenda, not because they wanted to sell you something or get you to admit something, just because they thought you were fascinating? So what would it be to make other people feel fascinating? And how often do you think they get that at work or at home or in their lives? They don't. So listening is the key, in my opinion, to relationships. And there's one other thing, because what I'm always asked, the holy grail in sales, direct sales, network marketing sales, the holy grail has always been, what do I say to get X? What do I say? So let's look at that for a second. Maybe it's not what you say. Maybe it's what you hear. And I say, if you pay attention and you listen to people and you listen for concerns and commitments, every single time what to say will occur. For instance, have you ever seen a friend you haven't seen for a while in a social setting? You're out at a store and you bump into a friend you haven't seen for a while. Do you ever have the thought, what do I say? You say, "Oh, there they are." And now what do I say to them? Oh my gosh, what am I going to say to Fred? No, you go, Fred. Oh my God, how have you been? It's been so long since I've seen you. It just comes right out, doesn't it? Well, what happens when they talk to you? Do you think about, what do I say if he asks me how I am? Of course not. But one of the reasons for that is you're not selling anything. So there's a wonderful way to look at how you promote, how you create a conversation for the possibility of sales. And it's called just being interested and listening. So if you have an agenda, let's say that you do have something to sell, you have something exciting, and one of the people you would want to know about it is somebody you care about, because it's that exciting. You're committed to it. It's the best water system in the world, and you want them drinking the best water that they can. But what if you went right up to them and said, you know what? I want to talk to you about something. I have an agenda. You just put it right out front. Well, now you don't have to beat around the bush and ask about the kids and then say, oh, by the way, I got this thing to talk to you about. You can right away say, I have an agenda. And I don't know anybody that I know that when I say I have an agenda, they don't smile and say, all right, bring it. What is it? So now you also can not have an agenda. You can just have a conversation for connecting to anybody, somebody you do know or somebody you don't know. And it actually turns this thing into fun instead of agony, trying to think of the right thing to say to get the response that you're looking for or not looking for.
So many things came up through that, but I wanted to remain in this listening space. So thank you for all that, those words of wisdom, and drop in the comments, guys. I've been trying to keep an eye on stuff, so there's a lot happening here. I'm a male, I'm multitasking, I'm doing my best. But we've got people from all over the world. In particular, we've got Ricky, who says he hopes your sister-in-law is not listening on this call, Russ.
Kathy. No, Kathy's not here.
and that Ricky is lucky enough to have met us both, as we are to have met you, Ricky. But there's many other people that are on the call, and we thank you for being here. Drop in what you've taken so far from this, any questions as well that are coming up as Russ is sharing. But then with the agenda, I know when you're saying, like, if you said to somebody, hey, I have an agenda, and there was a little bit of humor around that, but I have an agenda. And is that agenda inspired by the project?
Sometimes.
In this example of business and network marketing.
Right. Well, if I have an agenda, my agenda might be to tell somebody about an incredible opportunity that they might be open to. And if they are open to it, I'd like to talk to them about it, but I want to put it out front that it's okay to say no. You see, the problem that we have in connecting is hiding our agenda, like struggling with this inner conversation and automatic listening. And all that goes away when you just declare what you're up to, when you put it out there on the floor and you have a normal conversation. So it's kind of getting the elephant in the room out there so everybody can see it. I have an agenda immediately makes everything okay to talk about, because they might say, well, I don't have time for your agenda right now, Russ, or I'm not interested in your agenda, but they never do. What they generally do is they appreciate that because I'm not sneaking up on them with an agenda. You see, one of the things that we're taught to do is we're taught these gimmicks, these techniques on how to get somebody, how to almost trick them into paying attention to us with certain kinds of questions. And what do? We struggle to remember what those questions are. What am I supposed to say when they say this? Every time you do that, you're not there because you're thinking about what to say. So when you don't have an agenda, all you're doing is being interested in someone. When you do have an agenda, you're letting them know that you want to talk to them about something, and they're either going to be open to listening to it or not. So that's basically, I think, the crux of it.
Which ties in with promoting and selling, if I'm hearing you right.
Yep.
the way that you actually communicate that. So what this is a topic that you talk in great detail around and share value on. So what is the difference between the promoting versus selling?
Well, it's I think an important distinction. Remember, I said that how you separate things out in the untraining is with distinctions. So the model that we're most familiar with is in the selling model is a technique and a methodology that's been taught for decades, and it's there's nothing wrong with selling. It's a very specific methodology that goes from asking certain questions, either open or closed questions. An open question encourages a customer to talk, a prospect to talk, and a closed question limits their response, like a yes or no answer. So first, there's the art of asking an open or closed question. Then there's remembering the features, advantages, and benefits of whatever your product is. Then there's an opportunity. You're listening for an opportunity to say, to a need, to uncover a need and speak those FABs, the features, advantages, and benefits. And when you see interest, you close. So now there are entire clinics that are just about closing technique. Why is closing technique so important? Because it's how you get the order. The only way a sale can be measured is getting an order. There's no successful salesperson ever that hasn't sold anything. It only counts if something gets sold. Now, so closing the sale is an art form. Asking the questions is an art form. And then here's the next most important piece to getting the order or closing the sale: overcoming objections. Now, there's all kinds of techniques once you identify what kind of objection it is to overcome the objection. Now, can you see how much remembering there is in this process to do it well? It doesn't help people to say you don't have to sell, just share instead, because there is no distinction between sharing and selling. It's the same damn thing. It's selling in sheep's clothing. So when I looked at that, coming from a professional sales background, being educated in Xerox and IBM's professional selling skills, and being a sales trainer and a teacher for many years, when I got into network marketing, I realized this is something that people can't do and they don't want to do. And it's difficult for them. And why? Why? Well, here's what I decided and I theorized. My hypothesis is, by any other name, selling is a force. It's certainly a position. The position is, you need this product and my job is to get you to buy it. Okay, that's the position. So your position, the opposition is, I don't need the product. It's too much money. I'm not going to buy it. So there's position, opposition. So no wonder there's objections, because universal law would say that for every action in the universe, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So what must there be if there's a position, an opposition, right? There must be. That's why sales technique creates its own objections. It creates the objections by the very nature of the technique. And if you're masterful at it, maybe you can get through with a high percentage of sales, but most people don't want to, don't like it. No, thank you, don't want it. So when I looked at that, I thought, I think I see a problem here. Selling creates its own resistance. So if that's the case, how does product get sold today? How do millions and millions of dollars in sales take place without sales technique? Because they do. If you've ever seen a commercial on television or an ad on Facebook, how is it in 30 seconds you're buying something you didn't even know existed 30 seconds before? You're going to a site, you're clicking on a link, you're wanting to know more, and you're buying. And why isn't there any resistance to the price? Because when value exceeds cost, people buy. So 32 years ago, looking and realizing and coming to this conclusion, oh my God, this is a new possibility for creating sales. The communication of value while giving a real choice. And one of those choices can be no. You see, that's the one thing you can't say to a salesperson is no. Why? Because that's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. Okay. Oh, go for the no. I can't. Whoa, you said no. Now wait till you see what I got for you. Okay. Until one of you wins. But as I said, promoting today is simply this: the communication of value in such a way that the choice is irresistible. But one of the choices could be no. Do you always buy what you see on television? No. You can fast forward through it. You can change the channel. But more often than not, you're writing down a special pin to get 50% off or free shipping or something like that, right? So that's a different dynamic. And the reason I like it is because people can do it organically. You don't have to be taught to promote. Promoting is the communication of value. You've done it all your life. Whenever you've believed in something, you've promoted it. Watch a child promote. When they want something, when they really feel like they need something and they need mommy or daddy to buy it for them, they go into action. That's not selling. That's promoting. They don't close the sale. They just don't let up. Okay. So when I learned that, I began to teach people how to remember to just be themselves, to communicate value and give no room to exist, because to the degree you let no be there is the same degree to which yes will be there. Like, it's the resistance to no that keeps it in place. So what if it's okay to say no? I'll even start conversations that way. I want to tell you about something, and it's okay to say no. You can see relief visibly wash over someone's countenance when you tell them it's okay to say no. They go, oh boy, I'm okay. I'm off the hook, ready for, but they don't say no just because you gave them permission to. So promoting versus selling is a key thing, because without sales, no one makes money. But billions of dollars of sales take place every day without selling technique.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing there, Russ. It's been very well received here. Like, when value exceeds cost, people buy.
Every single
not having
time.
an agenda takes pressure off needing to make the sale. Lance has said the last 10 minutes, although that was 10 minutes ago, the last 10 minutes were spot on. So hopefully the next 10 minutes were also spot on hopefully. As well. And this promoted and selling, like, we've gone through the clarity of the project. We've gone through distinguishing the who is a prospect, as in going through from the contact, connection, relationship, prospect, and listening, which is the vital part. So then when you get to this place of communicating to the prospect, for them to then be enrolled based in network marketing. I mean, well, let's even touch on what you talk about, the difference between enrolling versus recruiting. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's start there before we get to the next part of enrolling in itself. So how do you define that?
Well, first, recruiting is the little brother of selling. So what's thrown upon people in network marketing is, hey, build your group. You got to recruit people. You got to get people. As a matter of fact, it's even the way it's said. You got to get people. Now, I want to know, for those of you listening tonight, how many of you like to be gotten? I mean, there's even shows about getting people, So it's like, nobody wants to be gotten. And that's turned recruiting into either begging or dragging, kicking, and screaming. Now, how exciting is that? How many of you want to go get people and drag them in, or beg them to do this, or convince them? That's what recruiting looks like. And like selling, it creates its own resistance because it's a force. You're forcing something. On the other hand, even the word enrollment, when you think about any time you've ever enrolled in anything, if you've been recruited to do something, was it your idea? No. If you've enrolled in something, whose idea was it? Yours. So you enroll in a personal development course, you enroll in a gym, you enroll in a weight loss program. Those are all things that are your idea. This is a good idea to do this. I'm going to do this. Now, somebody might have assisted in the enrollment conversation, but it's still your idea. You get enrolled in things on television and the internet all the time. Just by what's being spoken, you're going, yeah, 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 me, yes, yes. An enrollment conversation I define like this: recruiting, dragging, kicking, and screaming. Enrolling is creating a vision, a value, a direction, or a possibility. I love that word, possibility. Possibility has no resistance. Do you know why? Because it's a choice. Possibility is a choice. The opposite of possibility isn't impossibility. The opposite of possibility is another possibility. There's no end to it. So vision, value, direction, or a possibility in such a way that the choice is irresistible. So if I think of my business opportunity as something that I'm creating, I might be utilizing a third party, a strategic alliance that provides me with the product and the manufacturing and the delivery and the compensation structure and everything, but I'm creating the opportunity myself, and I'm inviting somebody to come and be a part of it. It's and I think so many people have always loved this analogy. When I was very little, I love trains. Trains aren't what they were once in the United States, but in other parts of the world, they're a real big mode of transportation. There's something incredibly romantic about trains. I love them. I love riding them. I love going places. I love looking out the window. I love not having to drive. But imagine your business opportunity that you own. Your business, your company is like a train. And you say, you see this train over here? The one that's, blowing out steam and ready to leave with the cars attached to it. That's my train. That's my train. I own that train. I built that train. That train is going to a place where you can live a life of no regrets. You can take anybody you want with you. Okay. That train is leaving. Here's a ticket. I want you to get on my train. You don't have to get on, but here's a ticket. Get on the train. That's an enrollment conversation. You've said, this is what it is. This is where it's going. I'm asking you to be a part of it. Here's the invitation. What do you want to do? Because make no mistake about it, train's leaving. So enrollment and promoting are the two most important actions to build an organization, because one guarantees the sale of products without selling, and the other has people enrolling and joining you to build and create something. Now, I see ads on the internet these days, and they say things like, I enrolled 1,100 people on my team in the last 30 days. Really? Well, what exactly does that mean? Because I guarantee you can't name the 1,100 people that you enrolled in your team. You don't know the 1,100 people that you enrolled in your team. They don't know each other, and they probably don't know you. So what exactly are they enrolled in? Signed up? Different story. I'm not interested in signing up 1,100 people because I can't help 1,100 people at once. They'll have to figure it out themselves, but I don't care because they signed up and now nobody else can sign them up. I got them somewhere. But if you enroll people powerfully and they're with you and they do the same thing, then a small team, and I from personal experience, one of the biggest organizations I've ever built, I enrolled 8 key players on purpose, cherry picked. And my promise to them was that everybody that I enroll from now on is going to go under you. And I want you to do the same thing. And everybody did that. In 9 months, we, not me, we built an organization of 28,000 people and $3.5 million a month in business. And that was 27 years ago in 9 months. And everybody knew what they were doing. And it was about giving. It was about building a team and empowering people and immersing yourself in the success of others. That's really what enrollment's about. And there's only 3 actions necessary to create what I call a duplicatable effort. You see, I think the more selling you do, even if you're promoting, or the more enrolling you do, even though you're not recruiting, the less attractive your business opportunity becomes to people because they won't want to do it as much as you do. So it doesn't count how much you do. What counts is what you can do that makes a difference that somebody else can do without quitting their job or thinking about it too hard, and then duplicating that thousands of times. What would it be like if the people in your business, instead of saying, I can't do that, said, I can do that, but really? I mean, really, if I do that and I show other people how to do that and I teach them how to teach other people to do that, that's what I have to do? Yeah, that's what you have to do. That's all. And it's a different paradigm from the one that's generally taught. That's the more you're selling, the more you're recruiting, some will, some won't, so what, keep going, don't give up, just, beat yourself to death and crawl across the finish line. It's just, to me, if it's not fun, and if I can't love people and be with them and have a good time, and we all have a good time, I'm not playing.
Yeah, thank you for all those DeVan bombs, we'll call them, that were just dropped as you were in flow there, Russ. And I know that this, like Barry's there, this is powerful. I am going to just create a possibility for John Harrington here, because he said this bloke is a champion. And the possibility could be these blokes are champions. I mean, that would sound good. But it's been well received anyway with regards to, people are really
champion right here. That says champion. Champion.
There you go. So there are as somebody who's been through your trainings, I just thoroughly enjoy your presence. There's a lot that, as you're speaking, keeps bringing more and more stuff up. It's this repetition of learning. I think Zig Ziglar said something like, we need to hear things at least 18 times. And that was when Zig was with us. Fortunately, he's passed now. But the power of repetition, which also amplifies the importance of consistency. But there's a few areas in particular that you've touched on that I'm just going to elaborate on, but also bring you in to amplify here. You mentioned around this social media phenomenon of, as in the example, 1,100 people enrolled into my team. And you're saying there, don't know the names. There's no way you can. There's no way you can find out what their goals are. There's no way you can work with 1,100 the following month because of capacity. There's just no way that can happen. There's probably not even 1,100 hours available in the month to have a one-on-one call to connect and get to know them and support them. So with that in mind, Russ, do you believe that this is an area of why we have so many people in the industry who don't ever gain momentum because of a lack of support? I know there's also commitment. I know there's that, but there's also the commitment of the sponsor to support the people they've enrolled into the team, because if it's a team, it needs to be functional, right, not dysfunctional. So yeah, what can you share around that experience that you've had and you've seen in other companies and work with people you've worked with?
Well, first I want to address the point that you mentioned. You see, I think that there's buzzwords that people that don't know any better, they listen to, and it gives them the idea that it's intended to give them. This notion of, I enrolled 1,100 people on my team. Now, depending on what any of those words mean, what I suspect really happened is they reached 100,000 people and 1,100 people signed up somewhere in their organization. And that's being translated to, I enrolled 1,100 people on my team. In my opinion, there's no such thing as an 1,100 person team. Okay. Because you don't know them and they don't know you and they don't know each other. But with that being said, there's a bigger paradigm that we all take on. And when I speak to you, like, I don't want to work with you for a session or a training or a week or a month. I want us to work together for the rest of our lives until you get this in your heart and train it better than I do. See, first you hear it. Then you hear it a couple times and you apply it. When you apply it and it works, you love it, so you apply it some more. Then you start to teach it. But duplication occurs when you teach others how to teach it, not when you teach it to others, when you teach others how to teach it. So part of the paradigm that we look at is, what's the paradigm for being a leader in business? And I say it's this. The paradigm is that what we're responsible for is motivating people. That's one thing that isn't so, in my opinion. And two, other people are successful because of us. It's our job to make them successful, for them to have a successful experience. Well, I say that's not true either. And the reason I say that is, here's the thinking behind it. If our job is to motivate people, what happens to their motivation when we're not there? See, motivation, I think, is a great thing. I love to be motivated. I love hearing great motivational speeches and speakers. I love it. There's an energy, and especially in a live forum. But motivation wears off. It's like ether. It wears off. And I don't believe that motivation can be sustained unless it's self-sourced, unless it comes within us. And I think most of the world is looking for motivation outside of themselves, like it's out here somewhere with a teacher or a company or a product or a compensation structure. It's not. So what if I said, I think as leaders, we need to give up motivation. Now, I want what I say to you tonight to be motivating, but that's not what I'm committed to. I want to be interesting. I want you to have fun, and I want to be, but that's not what I'm committed to. Productivity, results. I want you to hear what I say and go, I'm gonna find out more about that, and I'm gonna use that. That's what I'm after. And then you having it, you knowing it, you taking it and owning it. The second part about success, that's a real stickler, because we cannot be responsible for other people's success. One of the first things I noticed, and in fact, the name of my company, Success by Design, comes from this notion of people thinking that success lives somewhere outside of themselves. It's something they got to go find. Success lives inside of us. We define it. So as long as we're looking for success somewhere else, we're not going to find it. So as a leader, we can't provide success. We can be committed to their success to the degree that they are. So you might say, okay, smarty pants, if it's not motivation and it's not success, what is it that it's incumbent for us to provide? And I say there are three things, three really important things that we must provide if we're going to be a leader and a good sponsor. Here they are. The first is an example. An example. That means an example of how the product works and that the product works. Okay, can you imagine trying to build an organization about a product that you don't believe in or don't use? I can't personally. So an example of the product, that isn't where it starts, where it finishes, that's where it begins. The second example is we have to be an example of how the business is done successfully, meaning we have to know how to promote so we can show others. We have to know how to enroll so we can show others. We can't just expect them. I'm going to go find me a recruiter. I'm going to go find me a bunch of great salespeople, because that is precisely how this industry got its image of somebody finds somebody to do the work that they don't do. So the first piece of a sponsor's responsibility is being an example that the product is valid and the market is valid and the product works and is great. And the second is the example of teaching people how to promote and enroll. Here's the second part of the responsibility. Direction. People say, where do I go? What do I do? And how do I do it? As the sponsor, it is incumbent upon us to understand where prospects come from and be able to show them, and telling them to make a names list or sending them into the teeth of something as abstract as the warm and cold market is a formula for disaster, in my opinion. So where do I go means understanding what prospects look like and where they come from, and being able to demonstrate and show that, so that your people, your team, can create an unlimited resource for prospects without buying leads or ever having the warm and cold market conversation again. Number two, they need to know how to promote, enroll, and consume. That's the second part of direction. The first is, where do I go? The second is, what do I do? Promote, enroll, consume. Those three things together, just enough so that you know how to teach it and teach to teach it. You don't have to be the salesperson of the year. You don't have to be the best recruiter in the company. Enroll people, even if it's one person a month, and show other people how to do it and teach to do it. And the third thing is, the third part of direction is the how do I do it part, which is the project that I mentioned. So instead of trying to keep people motivated, here's what we're responsible for, is finding out not what people want. Well, what do you want? You know, everybody wants to make money, don't they? Do you know, have you ever met anybody that just said, no, I don't like money. I don't want to make money. No, people want things just fine. It's their getters that are broken. We want lots of things, but to us, it doesn't matter if we don't get what we want. As a matter of fact, go out on a riverbank tonight. It's a full moon. Scream up at the moon how much you want to be rich and see how much difference it makes. No matter how hard you want it tonight, it won't matter. The universe doesn't move for what we want. It moves for what we're committed to. And we're always committed to something. What's the difference? The difference is it's not all right when you don't get what you're committed to. That's the difference. It's okay if you don't get what you want. It's not okay if you don't get what you're committed to. And we're always committed to something. And when you find out what somebody's committed to, now all you do is design a plan for them to get what they're committed to. That's it. And that plan I call a project. And I have a formula for how to create that. So anybody that joins my team isn't joining it to put their toe in the water for a month. For me, it's at least a year. Like we're getting in business and partnership together for a year. And if they don't like their results after a year, they can fire me. And I tell them that up front. Meanwhile, I'm going to find out what they're committed to, and we're going to be in action 1 month at a time, moving towards it. And then the last part of a sponsor's responsibility, example, direction. Number 3 is support. And what support generally looks like in our business is hand-holding, chasing, begging, wondering what happened to them, keeping them motivated. That's not support. Support is designing, having an agreement for communication. That's one thing. Like we need to communicate. We need to talk. I don't mean once a month. I mean, I need for you to be able to call me and I will respond within 24 hours. And if I call you, you call me back. We need to have that pact, that understanding right now, because without communication, without dialogue, you'll go off and somebody will blow you out of the business, or somebody will say something to you, you'll disappear, or you'll feel bad that you stood me up for a meeting, and it won't happen. So we need to have an understanding for communication, and we need to have a project. And my commitment to you is, if you have a project and I know what you're committed to and I will help you design it, I am going to be with you every step of the way in that project until it's over. That's support. Example, direction, support. Now, that might not be a formula for perfect every time, but I got to tell you, it's close. It's close. And it's a lot better than trying to figure out how to motivate people and make them successful. Because take it from somebody who tried that for a long time, that's a losing battle. And it's not your job in the first place.
And it's also something that I learned from you, Russ, that disappointment can only happen when expectations aren't met.
Yeah.
So if the communication between the sponsor and the sponsored person is transparent, and one of the things like I do is on my website, on my YouTube channel, I have it very clearly defined of, if you choose to join the team, this is what you will receive. Then when people join, they go through a process. And one of the questions is, as your sponsor, what do you expect from me? How can I show up for you? And that way, when we have the conversation, it can be elaborated on, but I'm clear that some people like will go, I don't need you to show up for me. I'll reach out when I do. But other people go, hey, a weekly check-in to keep me on track would be great, for like accountability. Great, because I offer that. So that expectation, then I know Terry needs me to check in, whereas Tennille doesn't need me to check in. She'll reach out. I might check in once a month instead of each week. But that expectation is,
as long as you have an agreement for that, that's the key part. Is a sponsor makes a leader, and a good sponsor makes agreements with people, because then then what was the agreement? It's like somebody doesn't show up, that we had an agreement. So you can change the agreement. If the agreement's broken, then okay, it's not personal. It's what was the agreement, instead of going back to, well, you didn't do this and that makes you bad, and then they hide out and all that. So it's you're right, absolutely right. The formula for a breakdown is an expectation not being met. So what I like to do is set up expectations, and we sign off on things together, and we have agreements. Agreements are powerful things. I'm not talking about a contract, and there's people that get real caught up, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. That's not what people want. This is like a partnership. If it's a partnership, that means you're both playing. You're both playing for something, and you don't let your partner down. You can't do it for them, but you can't help them if they don't speak to you. If you don't, so I know some people don't want to be checked up on, and that's not the purpose of communication. It's got to get out of this paradigm of communication is, I'm checking up on you to make sure everything. No, it's like this. We need to have an understanding. If I call you, you call me back, no matter what. If you call me, I call you back, no matter what. And we need to talk on a regular basis so I can find out what's working, what's not working, what's missing, and how I can help you. Make no mistake about it. This notion of, this stops a lot of people too. I'm sure you've heard this. The rub on networking and network marketing is, well, the guy at the top makes all the money. You're on the top, but you're already making money on me. Well, wait a minute, hold it. Everybody that enrolls is at the top of their organization. What occurs above you doesn't affect you a bit. So why concern yourself with it? You're responsible for what takes place below you, and so are they. So everyone is at the top of their organization. So this notion that, oh, you're doing this, you're getting paid. Look, my greatest pride and my greatest success has come from enrolling people that make more money than I do. That's the game for me. Immerse yourself in someone's organization with the ambition that they will make more than you do. You can't miss that way. You actually can't miss, because the more success you create, the more you benefit from. Who cares if somebody does better than you? That's great. Okay.
Beautiful and powerful share with that there, Russ. You've touched on it a couple of times, and we started with it, the Your Project process. So we obviously can't cover everything today, and that's not the intention. It's to give value, help people really open up and realize there's different areas that are going to be of great benefit, and especially to having more time with you like I've experienced, and hence why I brought you into this space. And you asked me if I would be kind enough to do this like interview with you to add more value. your project process is something that is so empowering. And I mentioned at the beginning of the call that a lot of people will come here because they're in business and they want to learn from you, they want to understand more, and their agenda is that connected to their business. But what you teach overflows into how we can show up as a leader in life, as a
Yes.
better human being, and building and maintaining those relationships. Because as you shared, 8 people, you said, so I'm not holding up 8 there, 8 people that took, who were duplicating, who also bought into not only your vision, but their own vision and were committed, who then enrolled maybe their own 8 or 10 or 12, whatever it might be, not 1100 as the example. They were focused on the key leaders, which I know is a critical part of your project. But even having a conversation a couple of months ago with someone who in Enagic is earning the 7-figure income per year, and I asked them, how many directly active people do you and your partner have? And the response was, and I'm a part of the team, and they said, between probably 12 and 13 active. In 9 years, 12 or 13 active, and they generate a very profitable business. Mm-hmm. Now, that goes to show the importance of the duplicatable effort. I know you talk about that in the training, and I'm conscious of the time, so we're not going to get into too much. But in particular, throughout the process, as you mentioned at the beginning of the call, you're inspired every day. It's what you're committed to, not what you want. So there's an attachment there, there's an energy there. With your project process, what is it that you go through, the areas, you don't have to go through the thing, that you found are critical? Because I know you're going to touch on goals, but in the last 5-10 minutes that we've got here, and anyone please drop in a question that you've got that you want to ask to Russ, but just within the next 5 minutes, can you wrap up the power of the project going through it step by step?
I think so. First of all, I'm going to speak about paradigms again, because I'm constantly challenging the way we think of things and the way things have been taught. And I find that the way goal setting is often taught disempowers people as much as it empowers them, depending on how it's done. So here's a unique notion. I don't believe we work for goals. I believe that goals are something to measure what it is we're committed to. So the idea of goal setting is we don't work for money, and yet money is a great goal because it's measurable. All goals must be measurable. To be an Olympic gold medalist, that's measurable. That's first place. There's only one first place, okay? But what happens to an Olympian when they win the gold medal? What happens to the gold? It goes in a trophy case. So it wasn't about the gold medal. It might have been about a $30 million Nike contract because you won the gold medal. It might be about standing on a podium in front of 3 billion people worldwide while your national anthem is playing and you're acknowledged as the greatest in that moment that ever breathed in that sport. But the point is, it's about what you're committed to that the goal provides. So a new possibility with a project, for instance, is learning how to set a financial goal that's attached to what you're committed to over the course of, say, a year. And then defining it by what the conditions of satisfaction or criteria of satisfaction to meet that goal is relative to a compensation structure. So you have the goal, what it provides that you're committed to, which is going to keep you in action, that reward and the long-term benefits of achieving that goal, breaking it down by conditions of satisfaction, what the volume is, how many people are engaged on the team, and then what the milestone is, maybe a halfway point to know that you're on track. And then 30 days moving towards that goal, eating that elephant one bite at a time. And there's another thing that's really critical, another paradigm. And that's this idea behind time management. People think, and this is a cultural thing, that productivity is a function of time. The harder you work and the more you work on something, the better result you'll get. That's simply not true, in my opinion. That productivity isn't a function of time, it's a function of action. So if you are taking the right action, even though it takes much less time, and you are continually doing that action on a daily basis, 5 days a week, that produces a monthly result, then when you add up 12 of those monthly results, you get to a certain point in a year or close to it. I'll also say that the point of having a goal isn't always to hit it. People have it in their head, if they don't hit a goal, it makes them bad or they set it up wrong. Well, not necessarily. If you didn't have a structure at all, you're just flopping around trying to produce something and you don't know what it is you're producing, you're going to quit. You're going to get discouraged. So the idea of organizing these two things, productivity and having a goal that measures something you're committed to, and combining it with the right actions, like daily actions 5 days a week, is a new way of approaching goal setting. Another way of approaching goal setting and a philosophy around it is, if you think about it hard enough, it'll manifest itself in your driveway. I'm just not somebody that believes that. You know, that a vision board is a wonderful thing to have. But what I'm interested in is crystallizing your vision and making it occur by design. Okay, that's the difference. So I don't know that that answered your question, but the idea that what wires everything here together is having a plan. I think more people fail in business, particularly this kind of business, because they have no structure, they have no plan to succeed. Imagine going into a bank and trying to borrow money to run your business, explaining to them what you're doing in direct sales or network marketing. They'd laugh you right out of the bank. However, if you went in to borrow money to buy a shoe store and you could demonstrate your plan for selling shoes and what it would look like over a year and precisely how you were going to pay back the loan, that's different. If you have a franchise, you're actually paying for a winning formula. There is no franchise in network marketing because people don't have a winning formula. They don't create one, they don't make one, and their sponsors as clueless as they are. So what I'm offering is the possibility of a winning formula for your business that you create and then become responsible for executing. That's the difference, Martin.
Nailed it. I love it. And that something that Elizabeth Dove just dropped in with there and said, I am more interested in what I am willing to relinquish as a person in order to become the person I need to become during the process, which is such a powerful statement.
Beautiful.
Especially with regards to, as I am somebody who's worked with you on the project and we've worked together in areas, this journey of the becoming. And even though we've spoke about the destination and what we're working on creating, it's not taking anything away from that journey, that adventure to getting there, because throughout, as you've expressed, and I talk about this quite a lot, that we are in the people business. And if you love people and you love relationships and you want to build stronger relationships, this is the industry to be in. If you don't, you're better off selling toothbrushes on Amazon or DVDs or books, where there's no need for you to be connected like that. And I think this part of the journey, you and I, for you and I and our relationship that's blossomed, the relationship that's blossoming with my team members every day, with my partner, with my family, with friends, it's this constant growth along the journey that's helping me. And even recently, we went back to the UK, and the comments that have been coming back is, wow, Martin is just so calm and relaxing to be around, which obviously I wasn't previously. So I've become this person that potentially is in an area of my life is content, and the state that I give off is calm, relaxing. Well, if that helps somebody else, what an impact. And that doesn't mean that, well, I haven't got to the end goal of the project. It is the project.
Yes.
In becoming.
Yes. And
so
yeah,
sorry, Russ, go for it.
no, I wanted to throw out one last thought for everyone is that, my article in the Network Marketing Magazine this month is on the theme of the magazine this month is coaching. And the paradigm of coaching, I think, is another thing that we don't think about much. And we worry about. If there's anybody out there that's worried about how good a coach you'll be based on what you've done so far and how much success you've had, that has nothing to do with being a good coach. Being a good coach isn't about your record of success. It's not about how much knowledge you have on any particular subject. Being a good coach is being able to see what someone else doesn't see in themselves and unconcealing it and showing it to them. A good coach knows how to see the magnificence that's inside people and bring it out. That's what a coach does. A coach knows how to listen. They need to know how to listen. They learn how to listen to not only what's there, but what's missing. They not only can see and hear what people say, but what they don't say. And when you can start working with your team that way, when you can immerse yourself in their greatness, you will find that people can create far past what they ever believed they had or were or anything. And then they blame you for it. And that's the real gift of coaching, is the credit you get for something you didn't really do. It's something you unconcealed. The notion of prospecting, I think, occurred. I don't know this for sure because I haven't done any research on it. But the most common use of the word prospecting originated when people used to look for gold. I know there was a huge gold rush in 1849 in the United States, and people came from all over the world to face terrible hardships just for an opportunity to find gold. And they went to California and to Alaska. But the gold wasn't laying out in the open. They had to stand knee deep in ice cold water and sift through sand just for a speck or evidence that there was gold there. Okay. It had to be unconcealed. That's the way it is with people and their greatness. You need to unconceal it. You need to see what's there and bring it out and show it to them. That's what a great sponsor does. That's what a great coach does. And that's the gift of this business. That's the real joy in this business. It isn't how much you get or how much you know or any of that. It's how other people hold you for you giving them themselves. That's the real gift. And Martin, you're that way with me. I've loved you ever since I was in your mastermind group. And we just had this chemistry and this connection. And I just see you as a leader extraordinaire. I've already said you're far wiser in your years than I ever was at your age. And I shudder to think about what great things you're going to accomplish just because you have so much to give other people and you're so willing to do it. And that's your real gift, is your love of other people and your appreciation for them and what they're up to. And it's been an honor to be here tonight. And I hope I've at least challenged the way some of you are thinking. That was really the goal tonight, was to have you think about some things that you didn't maybe think about before. and I hope I'm blessed enough to get an opportunity to work for you and with you.
Yeah, thank you for your kind words, Russ, and the goal that you shared there, and also just on with the challenge that you dropped in. That the intention behind this challenge for everyone was from a place of empowerment. This is truly to be the way it was received, to empower you to become more, to think clearer, to be able to make a greater impact. And that's something that Russ has done for me and does for me daily. So I have dropped in the chat as well that if you're interested to come and partake in the untraining program or work with Russ, there is a link where you can register your interest and you will be updated of when the live calls are. So for this month, I believe in August, we've got the live 2-day intensive on the 19th and 20th of August. And then that follows on by the live 8-week mentorship from the 8th and 9th, I think we sorted out for September. But these are ongoing. So if you miss them, you can come in. If you're watching this at a later date, you can still go through, but just go to the interested.
On demand is available around the clock.
Yeah, people, you can access all pre-recorded content of Russ on every topic, guiding you through. And naturally, if you want that one-on-one or you want the live interaction, Russ offers this throughout the year that you can jump on. I've done, as I mentioned, 2-day and 8-week, and highly, highly recommend. In fact, we're just finishing up another 8 weeks this coming weekend to wrap up that. So let me know in the comments, because Russ can't see them. So let me know in the comments and I will pass them on. What has been your biggest takeaway of this training and the time that Russ has given? And also share your gratitude. Share your gratitude for this man, almost 70 in a couple of days' time. Or is it tomorrow? Tomorrow, is it?
No, it's Friday.
Friday, that's it, a couple of days' time. Almost 70, showing up, continuing to contribute, add value in the world. This is inspiration at its finest right here and now. So thank you, Russ, for choosing to show up. Thank you, everyone who's been on the live call and watching the replay. And take this information, this knowledge, experience, this wisdom that's been shared today, and leverage it to help you achieve your own desired success. Thank you, Russ. Take care, champ.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Martin.